him to get kind of in generic situations. And anytime he's going for one of his one-ups, it's because it's just beating his opponent outright. He's getting Elesh Norn against Elves or certain Delver strategies, or he's getting Iona against Burn, or Sire of Insanity against Storm. They're all game wins. He's not messing around with one-ofs that may or may not win the game in the appropriate matchup. Now, post-board, he has a Grave Titan and an Inkwell Leviathan, which aren't necessarily game over when you go get them, but they're a concession to some of the reactive cards their opponent might have. Inkwell Leviathan is very good against a particular class of decks. Grave Titan is very good against Liliana the Veil and similar effects.
Big fan of Inkwell Leviathan. Blue card removed a Force of Will. Trample and Shroud, along with a lot of toughness. It's kind of the card I found that you want to get against Death and Taxes.
Yeah.
It's unkillable, and it can work its way through all those annoying creatures.
And Caracas is an issue, too.
Yep.
You want to reanimate something that isn't a legend that can win the game.
Legend that isn't that a legend that can't be bounced via Caracas, and a card that can't be killed via Swords of Plowshares.
Yeah, it's a very short list, you know, so. And has to be just powerful enough to win the game by itself.
Because there have been times where players might reanimate a card like Imperial Archangel, and that's just not good enough.
Correct.
Yeah, it's just too slow. So JD is going to take a look at 4 cards. And he will keep it. A land to begin things. Looks like a taxing probe, excuse me. So it'll be a Force of Will, a Daze, a Ponder, a Brainstorm, an Exhume, a Flooded Strand, and a copy of Underground Sea.
This kind of looks like one of those sneak and show hands where there's some disruption and there's one of the pieces of the puzzle and then a cantrip to hopefully find the other piece.
Yeah. And Jimmy, given JD's mulligans, now he knows he's got a little bit of time to work with, though he did have some protection with that Force of Will.
Yeah.
Pluto Delta will be the land there for JD. He'll pass it back over to Kungle. Exhume the draw. Start things off with a Ponder. So Jimmy will take a look at a couple of cards here. Brainstorm is 1. Underground Sea is 2. And a Brainstorm is 3. And while Brainstorm's mighty powerful card feels like a shuffle to me.
Well, he does have a fetch land in hand, and I like taking one of the 4. I would like to take one of the Brainstorms here, possibly the second one. He's going to have a lot of time to find what he's looking for, and with the shuffle effect already in hand, I think I like keeping both the Brainstorms here. I agree, they are on diminishing returns. The second and third copy is a lot less powerful, but with one fetch land in play, it's just a lot of looks at things.
Oh, there is a Flooded Strand.
Also, keep in mind, Jimmy can probably anticipate he's going to be playing against a lot of discard games 2 and 3, and Brainstorm's just nice protection against duresses and Cabal therapies and so forth.
Kungle not willing to fire off Brainstorm just yet. JD draws a card, simply passes the turn back, so now he'll Brainstorm, draw an Underground Sea he knew about, a Ponder, and a Pit Needle that he didn't. So 2 cards will have to go back here. And I wouldn't be surprised one bit to see him sacrifice the fetch land after that.
Yeah, I think, you know, you can get rid of one of the reanimation effects here. I think the Needle is also something you could afford to get rid of. I could see maybe not necessarily want land number 3, but I think that I would get rid of the Needle.
Looks like he's going to go with one of the Brainstorms and an Exhume here. Clearly he's got something he wants to do with the Needle. Now he's going to draw a card, so he'll take the other Brainstorm. Play a land. And now he'll cast a Ponder.
So this allows him to get his extra shuffle here without having to break his fetch land.
And he will shuffle away.
So Jimmy just trying to preserve as many looks as possible at the reanimation spell he needs, or excuse me, the Entomb effect that he needs rather to assemble a kill.
Emmanuel Perez, your draft is waiting for you. Please report to the main event stage.
So mystery card coming here for Kungle. And then we'll see how he wants to move forward after that.
Emmanuel Perez, please report.
Slow. Do your thing, man. Have fun.
Mystery card is Reanimate. Doesn't need that. Here's a Brainstorm. An Exhume, second Exhume, and an Underground Sea. So still on the hunt.
Well, I think we've hit the point where this Flooded Strand needs to be cracked.
Yeah.
There's just too much redundancy here.
2 cards quickly go back. Now Flooded Strand will be sacrificed. Now, it's not solely a search here for Entomb. You know, a card like Careful Study can do a little bit of work, though he doesn't have a large creature in hand. But it does seem like he's on the hunt mostly for Exhume at this point.
Yeah. And this is part of the reason that earlier Jimmy, you know, he kept those brainstorms even though they were looking a little redundant and he didn't have that many ways to shuffle his deck. Just really important for him to give himself as many looks as possible at the Entomb he needs or whatever backdoor way he has of getting something in the graveyard because his hand really doesn't do anything otherwise.
It doesn't look like he's willing just yet. Not in that much of a rush.
Yeah, it's so unlikely he finds a sequence of cards that allows him to go off that turn. I guess if he brainstorms into exactly pedal, Entomb,
yeah,
he can do it. But the brainstorm in his hand is such good insurance against a discard spell if JD happens to draw one that I would rather, you know, even though there's a fractional chance he could win the game that turn, I think he's better served sitting on the brainstorm, using it as insurance in case JD casts a discard spell.
Yeah, because he's not underneath any pressure at this point. You know, JD has a land. Now he's casting a brainstorm. So this is really his first action of the game. Daze will take care of that brainstorm. So not too much of a rush here for Kungle.
And I don't mind that Daze there from Jimmy, even though JD's stuck on one land against Storm. With so many ritual effects in the deck, they quickly get to a spot where they can play over the top of a Daze. And I'm usually happy to just cash in Daze on the first attractive-looking spell. That brainstorm there qualifies.
Yeah, no, I like dazing there quite a bit. Opponent on Mulligan to forward. Brainstorm is the kind of card that can presumably get him back into the game. Daze, of course, isn't free because it doesn't have to pick up a land, but feels like a freebie there.
It's not like Reanimator needs a lot of lands in play to function.
That's for sure. Here's a Lotus Petal. There's a Dark Ritual. So perhaps JD's got a little something going here. So he's got a small little counter there for mana, make things easier for both the opponent and everyone at home. Cabal Ritual will bring up to 4 mana. Lion's Eye Diamond, and now this is an Infernal Tutor. On the stack, he'll break the Lion's Eye Diamond. Kungle's been sitting here with the Force of Will for some time. JD was hoping maybe he shuffled it away, but that's not the case. Now JD is cardless, and all he has is a Lotus Petal and Underground Sea.
And I think that JD may have been able to afford to just sit for a little bit longer. He does have discard spells in his deck. He wasn't really under that much pressure. Jimmy clearly has not shown the ability to get anything going thus far. And now JD's got to try to reassemble from basically nothing.
Yeah, and as you see Jimmy casting Careful Study and discarding a Pithing Needle and an Exhume, you can see his hand, he has nothing at this point. He's hoping to draw an Entomb. JD's just going to draw and just play a land. Now, if he draws an Entomb, he's going to win the game because he has a Reanimation spell in his hand, but he hasn't found one yet. So now these players are just going to play Draw Go for a little bit, because there's an Underground Sea. He will play that, and it gives him 5 mana to hard cast Force of Will. But I agree with you. If JD had maybe waited a little bit of patience there, maybe he draws a discard spell. Maybe he's actually able to win the game.
Sure. Yeah, I don't believe there's a huge incentive for JD to go for it there. There's no way that Jimmy's shuffling away all of his blue cards.
Yeah.
Or the Force of Will here.
So you can Taxing Probe, show some cards there. Or, excuse me, it's Cabal Therapy. Here's a Lotus Petal, pass the turn back.
Although I guess Jimmy is getting close to the stage where he can start casting some
There
things.
you go. Now that's the attitude you got to have early this morning. There's Taxing Probe. Exhume, Pithing Needle, and Force of Will.
I mean, you laugh, but...
Oh, stranger things have happened. Thought sees the draw. And see, in this situation, you know, Jimmy's going to cast the Thoughtseize and go after JD's hand. You're going to see Flusterstorm and Lotus Petal. I actually prefer holding the Thoughtseize in that instance because you can target yourself if you draw a big threat and then reanimate it.
Yeah, it's very unlikely JD can go off with a couple cards in hand against your Force of Will.
Yeah, and that's why I would prefer, you know, Thoughtseize. You know, it's an unconventional way of using the card. But when you have a Force of Will in your hand and you know that Storm takes a critical mass to go off, you know, the thought process I think there needs to be, well, what could he be holding that I'm even scared of?
Well, it could be mana. I mean, you're going to get something. There's no way he's just sitting on a bunch of lands. So the Thoughtseize targeting JD is not the end of the world in any circumstance. It's not like you're going to miss,
Of course.
but I agree. You can probably wait another turn or two. You know, if you don't draw something to do for a while there, then that's different.
There's Cabal Ritual. Oh, there's Infernal Tutor. But Force of will predictably take care of that.
So keeping the polluted delta in play because he would rather shuffle his deck with the delta rather than have another mana in play.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, he's pretty far away from hard casting Crystal Brand, which is the major incentive to keep the pedal at that stage.
Careful said he's going to find Jimmy what he's finally been looking for, which is an Entomb. Entomb will let him go through his deck, put a big creature in the bin. Looks like he's going to go with Iona. And Reanimate will be able to bring that back. Or the Exhume that he has in his hand. Either way, that big thing's going to come back into play. Suppose the Thoughtseize will make sure the coast is clear. There goes Lion's Eye Diamond. And now sacrifice the Delta will Kungle. And in a moment here, I think we'll have an Iona in play, likely naming black.
Yep. Not ideal operations there from Jimmy. Probably just wanted Thoughtseize first in case JD is drawn, you know, Surgical Extraction or Extricate. But this should be good enough in any case.
If he leads out with the Thoughtseize, then cast the Entomb.
Right.
Everything is safe, yeah. By the way, Iona choosing black is going to come into the red zone. An attack there for 7 is going to put Nier down to 8. JD will draw and simply pass. Kungle will untap. Take a draw step. It's a copy of Gristlebrand. In for 7 more. JD's down to 1. And Nier, I imagine, has 1 more draw step. It's a duress that he can't cast, and that is going to do it. Jimmy Kungle's going to win this game and match over JD Nier. 2 games to 0. Reanimator will take down Storm in what is oftentimes the result in this matchup is Reanimator is just about a turn faster than Storm.
Yeah, it's faster, less moving parts, not as susceptible to the sideboard cards that Storm brings to the table. You know, when Reanimator's bringing in more discard, more counter spells, it's really bad for Storm. When Storm is doing the same thing, it isn't nearly as bad for Reanimator because it's a lot more robust against those kind of one-for-one trades. So not a surprising outcome in this matchup. I mean, JD's mulligans certainly did not help matters. I think went to 4 there in game number 2, but
4 makes it kind of tough.